Running 101.
Running 101.
Running 101.
Hello everyone, I'm Nads and welcome to another episode of Running 101. It's been a while, hoping you're all well. Enjoying the summer. We've had some extreme and crazy temperatures lately. So a quick update from me around the Hackney Half back in May. I didn't get a PB or anything, but what I was able to do is keep it consistent to previous years, which I'll take as a win anytime, any day, really. More recently, running 101 turned 1. It's gone by really quick. Went by in a flash, actually. So what did we all do to celebrate? We got together by running a 5K in Canary Wharf. And I cannot appreciate all the effort from those who turned up to support on the day. It was really great to have you all there. I really hope everyone had a good time. And I guess if it ends with cake at the end, you're on to a winner. So yeah, that's how it went. It goes without saying, we had Yomzi, Protein Rebel, and Tenzing with us to support on the day. So a big thank you and shout out to them too. A key highlight of the day would have to be having someone come along to run and complete their first 5K with us. A huge achievement for them, no doubt, but also for Running 101 too. Even more recently was the Sockney 10K. This was my third year running it in a row. It was great to bump into a few friendly faces as always, to name a few: Mustafa, Habib, Raj, and regular pacers Shaq and Hassan. Great seeing you guys out there. So let's get to today's guest. Today we have someone with us who has been running since 2024. Running has become a big part of their regular day, week, month routine, and something that they depend on. From regular running all the way to the Hackney Half back in May, they then went totally out of their comfort zone, extending beyond the marathon 42K to complete an ultra 50K in June. Professionally working in mental health as a counsellor and driving a key project to them, which is We Are Not Weapons, which we will no doubt discuss today. Saad, welcome to Running 101.
Hey Nads, hey bro, thanks for having me.
No, it means a lot. I know we've been trying to do this for a while, so it's about time. And thanks so much for putting some time aside to make this happen.
Oh, no worries, man. And just before we get into it, I just want to congratulate you for your 1 year anniversary.
Oh, no, thanks a lot, man. Thanks. You know what? I know why you didn't show up. It's because you don't run 5Ks.
No, man. I'll make it up to you, I promise.
Yeah, we'll have to do like something longer, right? Next year, maybe. You never know. We'll have to do a 10K, but let's see. You might be the only one who shows up for that.
I didn't expect that, bro. You got me there. I didn't expect that.
No, it means a lot. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man,
it's gone by really quick, and it's been great to touch base with you over the last couple of months too. Like I said, we've been trying to make this happen for a while. So, Saad, over to you. How have things been? How are you doing in general?
I'm doing well, bro. Very busy. Almost forget what month it is sometimes, and I'm just constantly moving, whether that's my mind moving through my work or it's physically through my endurance training and the various other types of training that I do. I'm doing well. A lot of filming, a lot of advocacy work, and I just have a lot of things planned for the near future, and it's just it causes a bit of anxiety, because I bet.
But it's good to have a plan, right? It keeps things going, keeps your mind active, and you just move from one thing to the next, isn't it? So
of course, definitely. But generally, I'm doing well.
Good. It's good to see some of the content that you do post from time to time on Insta. Mainly, I do kind of try to follow on as best as possible. It always has a positive impact, so that's the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, Saad, why don't you give us a bit of background into yourself?
Sure, yeah. So I'm just, I'm a regular guy from Southwest London, raised in Southwest London. Grew up, I guess, whatever normal means, just a Londoner, and went through school and college and all of that, and eventually Went into the tech industry. I was working as a software engineer for about 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fast forwarding here.
Yeah, you can take your time.
And so I was working as a software engineer for about 12 years and made myself, got to quite of a, I got quite high in the field. I was really good at it. And then one day I just decided I'm going to drop that life behind. And I left it all within the space of 2 days. And I found myself in mental health. And then
what was it? Was it mental health that led you to make that decision?
I've always been fascinated with psychology in general since a young age. I can recall memories as early as 13, 14, where I'm literally reading like psychological books. I've always had a passion for an interest in it. I think I've always been interested in human behaviors, specifically, and the psychology of personalities. That's an area that I focus on a lot.
Wow.
So I've had that interest, and even when I was working in tech and just living my life, I was always quite close to psychology. I would always do that in my free time or watch videos and stuff like that. So the interest was there. And then I went through a major life crisis unexpectedly, and it knocked me back so far that I thought I couldn't bounce back from it. And I nearly didn't, actually. So when I eventually did bounce back, I realized that I'm incredibly resilient, which is, I think, the most important component that you need when you're going through, a major life crisis, is resilience. But it taught me a lesson that being an average individual and being an individual that thinks about others and cares about others, it would be selfish of me to not share my story and my process as well. So so I took my suffering and I just turned that into my fuel, really. And then I just decided that I think I need to get into the field professionally, and I think that's where I can make the most impact. Yeah.
I'm a little intrigued as to what you went through, but obviously it's up to you how much you care to share.
The actual events themselves, like that happened, I won't disclose at this time. It's because that's going to come later.
Fair.
Through various projects. But we can say that it involved a process which removes a man's purpose in this life. And it involved a lot of grief, and it involved a lot of ambiguity. And I think we might touch upon this later on when we talk about some of the areas that I focus on in mental health. But through all of that led into thoughts of suicide. And that's the first time in my life where I started to really think about what would life look like without me in it. And I think that's what I focused on. So I didn't focus on the crisis itself. I focused on the collateral damage, and then evidently the outcome. And then I just worked on the outcome, and that was, the suicide ideation and then the effects of the crisis itself.
With that, having gone through that, so what brings us together today and what we have in common? We might take it a little lightly sometimes, right? Where did running come into this? And was that something that you, when I mentioned in the intro that it's something you depend on, equally I do too. Honestly, it's my outlet today. But Is it something that you depend on differently from that aspect? What I'm trying to get to is where that came from.
How does the running came into it?
Yeah,
and how I tie the two worlds. It's a good question. Okay, so I just need to take you back a little bit to give you the context. When I was going through my most difficult period, I was really heavy at the time. So I was over 136 kilos. And when I was younger, I've been sporty, and I did like football in school and college and cross country and stuff like that. But never anything long distance, never ran a 5K in my life, or I don't even think I even run like a 2K actually, or something like that. So at the time, we're going back now, early 2024, and I was very big. And when I decided that I'm going to remain here, I'm not going to harm myself, what does that look like? What does that mean? What does life look like? And what do I have to do in order to get well, and also not only get well, but make sure that I don't fall into anything like that ever again.
Sure.
And then I realized that through my work and, just my own experience, that personal pain doesn't end, it just moves. So there's the paradox. It doesn't end, it just moves. So a lot of people, and the research suggests this, that that commit suicide, they don't actually want to die, they want their pain to end. Right? I don't think I think it's very natural that we think about mortality, but it's a very unnatural thing to unalive yourself, right? But a lot of people do that because they want their pain to end. Now, when I realized that the pain doesn't end, it just moves, I then made the decision that I need to carry this. And what does life look like, me carrying this? And then that's when I came across the decision to go through a transformation. And that transformation had to come holistically. So we're talking about physical, we're talking about mental, we're talking about work-wise, we're talking about friendships, we're talking every area of my life I had to touch, and I had to alternate. And that's what I did. I spent the first 18 months just basically, the first year, I would say, I just started to walk. Now we're getting up to the running part. So I just started to walk, and it was absolutely brutal. It was horrible. I hated it.
How far were you going when you were doing that?
I remember I set out to do like an hour a day, and I was just walking on the motorway in Southwest London.
I mean, obviously, distance was probably the last thing on your mind at that point in time, right?
I had no idea, bro. I'll be honest with you, I had no idea what all these numbers meant.
Yeah,
5K, 10K. I don't. That was oblivious to me. Mine was just like time. Okay, I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna walk for half an hour in one direction, and I'm gonna walk back, and there's my hour. But it was horrible, and I hated it. And I just felt like I was just dragging myself, not even running, just dragging. And I would try to like listen to things and listen to podcasts and stuff like that to distract me, and it was horrible. But then I realized that with consistency comes comfortability, right? And that's very minimal. It's a minimal type of comfortability, but it still arrives. And I started to get better at it. And my time got a little bit quicker, and the pain, and I started noticing like little pains started to go away. So my right knee, the pain there would go, and then, my lower back wouldn't hurt as much. And, I started to see that I was slowly dropping the weight. then I dropped a significant amount to the point where I decided that okay, maybe I can run now a little bit, and then I'll just run a bit, stop, and then run a bit and stop. You know, I think I was wearing completely the wrong shoes. Like, it's ridiculous. I think I was running in like Air Force Ones or something like that. Something
Nice.
stupid. Like,
Well, at least
absolutely.
good taste though, right? Need to take some credit away from
I
that.
mean, yeah, I still rock the Air Force Ones today, but it's just like no stability, like no foam, no nothing. It's just ridiculous. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. But then I stumbled across what's it called? You asked me, Culture 5K.
Yeah.
And it was actually recommended to me by someone. And then I was like, oh, it's by the NHS. It must be, you know, somewhat, the credibility must be there. So I just started it. And then I went down to Sporting Feet, the trainer shop, the running shop in South West London. And I walked in, and I was still big at the time. And I walked in and I said, this was July, it was around July, August 2024. It was in the summer. And I just said to the guy in there, it's funny because I went in there the other day and we was having a chat about ultras and stuff. But I said to him, I have no idea about all of this, okay? But I just need something that fits my foot because I've got wide feet, nothing fits me. Like, I just need something because I want to start, you know, running a little bit. And they did the whole analysis, and there was only one shoe that was good for me. Have a guess.
Oh man, I don't know. I'm biased to one brand, so hit me.
What's your brand?
Adidas.
Oh.
Are you about to like disconnect right now, right?
No, man, no, it's cool. You know, I accept people for who they are. But it's no, it was the New Balance. It was the New Balance 860s V14 in the 4E width model, and they had to order it in because no shop stocks 4E, and that's the widest option you can get.
Wow.
Right? And because I had a few problems with my feet. One, I overpronated heavily, and that obviously comes from being big, right? So your knees collapsing, and then I had flat feet, and then I had wide feet. So I can't wear, well, I can now, but before I couldn't. Well, there's only a few I can now, but I can't wear the cool carbons and all of that, right? I got them, and I still have them. I actually did a video on it on my Instagram. I've hung them up now. I retired them because I've battered them out.
But they're a memorable pair, I guess, right?
Oh, bro, you have no idea what these shoes have done for me, man. You have no idea. Like, I love these shoes like a fat kid loves cake, bro. Like, I look at them all the time and I'm just like, yeah, it's mad. Like, the story behind it is what's sentimental, right?
True.
So I got them, and then I just started running. And I remember I got to, I think, week 6 of the plan, 6 or 7, and I stopped because at the time I was doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and that was consuming a lot of my time. But I missed it a lot, and that's when I realized later on that it wasn't the actual running itself that I was missing. It was what it did for me mentally.
Okay, the discipline, right? The
discipline,
plan itself.
The plan, the discipline, and the processing that it did for my mind and my emotions. And then I went back, I completed it. I ran my first 5K on the side of the motorway. Cried because I was like, this is nuts. Like, I ran a 5K for the first time ever without stopping, and just continued building from there. And yeah, Bob's your uncle, as they say.
To be honest, that's quite a way to your 5K. It just takes me back to what I was mentioning in regard to someone completing their 5K with us just a few weeks ago. Yeah. We kind of take these things lightly, don't we? Just
100%. I think 5K is such a special number for people because I think that's where the expectation is set. in the running community, it's like, okay,
Hmm.
start building your 5K engine, and then build from there. And I think, and then I did 5.5, and then I did 6, and I literally went up like that, until I could build a 10, and then yeah.
So, okay, fast forward to today. I mean, well, not exactly today, but you ran the Hackney in May.
I did run Hackney, and it was really strange running and people crossing the course with their line bikes. That was really weird, but it was nice. The atmosphere was incredible. I smashed my half record by 20 minutes,
Nice.
which was totally, you know, unintentional, because I was just really having fun. And then I looked at the chip time. I was like, hold on a minute, what's going on here? And then that's when I realized, yeah, that the training obviously speaks for itself. Like, it works, right? Like, if you stick to it, if you have a plan, if you've got good people around you that are giving you good advice on fueling and pacing and recovery and stuff, I think you can reach that. And I think I'm very self-actualizing, so I believe humans can reach very high potentials as long as they stick to the game plan. And I just did that, and yeah, it worked.
Going through what you have been through already, where does community come into that? And did that play a part and help you along the way?
Oh yeah, massively. I think whether you're talking about community around the running, or you're talking about community around the mental health, or you're just
both really. I mean, today, if it was about the running, I totally hear you, I totally see what you're talking about, but it's the emphasis that it has on mental health, which is what I'm more digging into here. Yeah.
Yeah, massively, because I think it's very unorthodox to see a man speak about very difficult things, especially coming from an ethnic minority background. I think it's very unorthodox. We don't see it in society often, and I think me coming out and talking about my story and my transformation, and just basically saying that it's okay to not be okay, and it's very much human. I think that has created a sense of a community, because it's allowed other men, and not only men, women as well, that want to help men in their life, come out and say, I really appreciate that you spoke about that, or you talk so openly about this thing, and it's funny because I'm going through something similar, and I get messages quite often from people, that I don't know. Like, I got a message from, obviously I won't disclose anybody,
Sure.
but from a mother that lives in Birmingham, last year, and she told me something that happened to her son, and she resonated with some of my work and stuff. So I think community is very important, because it just allows you to be surrounded by like-minded people, but also it allows us to have that domino effect on each other. So especially with men, because when a man sees another man talk openly about his inner world and his pain and stuff, he now falls on him like a domino, and then that gives him the permission to also express himself. And whether we do that verbally, or we do that through the running, or we do that in other ways physically, community gives us that permission to have that domino effect. And I think I've got some really good people around me. I've made some very, very good friends the last few years, and they just, they let me be me. And I think that's what you need in a community, is that people just let you be who you are.
Yeah, you need to, when I say fit in, that doesn't mean you need to adjust yourself or change yourself to be able to fit in. You want to fit in based on who you already are, right?
Absolutely. And if you have to alter yourself in a way to quote unquote fit in, then you're already in the wrong environment, right? So yeah.
So based on your experience, you touched on something there where it's kind of not normal for a man to open up and discuss it as such. Do you feel mental health for men gets somewhat overlooked or downplayed?
Oh, 100%. The stigma is absolutely enormous. I mean, we just look at the numbers. Look at the numbers. The suicide rates are incredibly high. They keep rising. We lose a man to suicide in this country approximately every 90 minutes, right? We're talking about a world suicide rate of approximately 76% of the world suicide rates are in middle-aged men. We're talking about a phenomenon that is the leading cause of death in this country underneath the age of 35. And a large number of that statistic are men. And these are just the ones that are recorded.
Yeah.
What about the ones that are not recorded? The attempts or the stories we don't hear about, the people from remote areas of the country or the world, and we don't never hear about them. So it's incredibly enormous. The stigma behind it is enormous because we live very much in a society where I think men tie themselves speaking out or speaking about themselves and their pain and their vulnerabilities with consequence. So
As a weakness even, maybe?
as a weakness, and also they view vulnerability as a weakness. But vulnerability is the strongest thing any human can do, right? But with a man, it's like there's a consequence always tied. So for example, just think about yourself. If you now go and express yourself to someone, a common thought process would be, well, what are they going to do with that information later on? Are they going to use it against me, or are they going to store it somewhere? Is it going to make me look weak? Am I going to maybe potentially, lose that that promotion at work because I'm not seen as competent or whatever? There's always a consequence that is tied, but that consequence is a false fallacy in our minds that we build that, right? And because of that, men now suffer in silence, and that silence turns into isolation, and isolation evidently, turns into more detrimental things. So we have to combat that, not combat the actual things that are occurring, but we have to combat the isolation that is caused, and we have to begin to and carry on bringing down that stigma as much as we can. And how we do that is through awareness. The more awareness we can create, the more, because there's so many services and help out there, but people just don't know about them. And how we can get people to know about them is by continually banging on about the awareness. And that will then, give the permission for men to stand up and say, hey, bro, I'm not doing okay. I need someone to speak to. I'm not doing okay. And until we get there, we're going to continue seeing these things just going up and up and up.
We will definitely get into the running, but just wanted to focus on the important aspect of what you brought to us today. Again, what are the most common things impacting or affecting the mental health, specifically for men today, that you've not having experience, but you might have heard of based on your profession?
I think it's a good question. I think there's many factors, and it can affect women too. But if we're just, focusing on men, a lot of pressure. So pressures of society are incredibly high now for this generation. I think that is a major contributor, but also the stigma itself, the misunderstanding of mental health in various cultures is another one, right? We're talking about, in my culture, for example, I come from the Middle Eastern culture. We're talking about mental health like
it's almost taboo, right?
Not even taboo. For me, in my opinion, it's non-existent, right? So saying that you're going through depression or you're not feeling well mentally and everything just means you haven't eaten enough that day, go home and eat. You'll be fine tomorrow. And the reality is
Did you
that's
not
not how.
sleep well last night or something
Yeah,
like that, right?
like
Yeah.
what's wrong with you? Like go and eat. You haven't eaten enough, and you're like, hold up, I've waxed like 3,000 calories today. Yeah, like what are you talking about? It's just that dismissal and that minimalization.
Mm,
I don't think it's because people have bad intentions. I don't think that. I genuinely, I think that it's because people just don't know.
mm.
They don't have the knowledge
Lack of
and
awareness.
lack of awareness, and also it's painful to lean into pain. It's painful. It's not easy, So I can appreciate that and I can understand it, but it doesn't mean that I accept it, right? So there's that. There's also that aspect of it, the minimalization, the dismissal from the cultural background.
Hmm.
But then also the way society is set up nowadays, we live in a constant state of comparison. And we live in a society that keeps us anxious. It keeps us rushing and acquiring more, and we in this urgency to acquire more and more and more.
Constantly unsatisfied with whatever you have in front of you, right?
Yeah, constantly, because people are told to seek happiness, but happiness is a joyful feeling that is temporary, where people should be seeking contentment, because happiness is a byproduct of contentment. So I think the way society is set up and the way we've just been uniformed in this process, I think creates a lot of mental health issues, because mental health is not tangible. It cannot be seen, right? The effects of it can be seen, meaning the behaviors that come from it, but the actual feelings, the emotions cannot be seen.
Can you measure it?
We can measure it. We can measure it, and that's by being present, or one of the ways is by being present and bringing awareness and really caring about people and asking, how are you really doing? Let's talk about this, because I can see that your behaviors are telling otherwise,
Hmm.
right? Of course, statistics are not the be all and end all, but it's a foundation that we have to work with, right? Like I think statistics, we can't dismiss them. A lot of people say, "Oh, you always bang on about statistics." Yeah, because we kind of need them, right? We need them as a foundation to build on. But also just looking at communities. For example, let's take the running community. How many people do you know personally, just think about it in your head, that have said to you, Nads, my mental health has got better since I started running, right? Or I really look forward to coming to this social run every week because it just gets me out of my comfort zone.
Sometimes it's not even mentioned. It's just a given. You can just tell.
It's a given. You can see it, right?
Yeah.
You can see it. So there's many ways we can measure it. And I think, when we look at men, we have to remember that from young, we've always been told, big boys don't cry. And then when we get to adolescence, you now need to go off in the world and be strong and be functional and do, do what you're supposed to do. That's fine and that's good. But when do we ever have the process to understand, to learn, and to process our emotions and to express ourselves? Because we go from big boys don't cry to always be strong. So it doesn't give us that permission. And I think that's why men are really, their voices are really suppressed in today's world.
I mean, you touched on one thing there, which is how we can bring a change to this. It's like, well, ask the questions, be there for someone. But again, that person needs to kind of make it clear, or you just have to be really observant to be able to tell by their behavior that something's not quite right.
Mm-hmm.
How else can we help? Or what's the best course of action?
By just letting people know that, especially those you care about that are around you, that you're there whenever they need you. We can't fix people, bro. You can never fix anybody. You know, you can't drag someone towards you with both of their feet if they don't at least give you one, right? So it's just letting people know in your own little community. Like, for example, let's take your Running 101 community that you've built, yeah? Focus on that and checking in on the people there, because with that, you're doing your bit. And then if somebody else in their community does their bit, and then somebody else does their bit, right? And then collectively, people in their own communities are doing their bit for their community, we'll start to see people getting well, and we'll start to see, or at least the potential of people getting well, because it's not night and day, it takes time, right? But a lot of the time we want to go across the pond and start fixing the world before we fixed our own backyard, right? So it's just letting people know, those around you, those that you care about, and also yourself, making sure that yourself is prioritized. And this is something I advocate towards a lot, is treating oneself like someone you deeply, deeply care about.
Yeah.
And it's not narcissistic at all. It's self-love and self-compassion.
True.
Because if you provide that blueprint for others, then they'll know what your expectation is on how you should be treated, right? And then you share that treatment with others and in your own little community. And I believe that once you start there, it starts to have an effect on a wider scale.
So we're going to deviate for 1 second.
Sure.
Before we come back, obviously, but yeah, the ultra marathon that you ran in June, just a few weeks ago, actually.
Yeah.
What brought that on? I mean, you went from running your regular 10Ks, half marathons, and then all the way to an ultra. Did you lose a bet?
No, actually, it's you know what it is? It's like, yeah, I'm a little bit nuts, you know. But it's also, so there was supposed to be a process here, and my process got disrupted. So I was supposed to run London last year, London Marathon, and I had to drop out due to injury, and that was a good preparation for the ultra, right? To have time on feet and also the mileage. But I always, even through my injury and stuff, I kept up with my training, my consistency, and I just prioritized my recovery. So I just kept my focus on that. So my endurance was there. My endurance was there. When the ultra came about, I've always been fascinated with long distance, like people that do long distance. I've always liked to see patterns in these type of people, and what is it that they have in common? Like, what is it? Because this is ridiculous. Like, what do you mean you're running for, 100Ks and on days on end? Like, what is it that is driving you to do that? And I've always been fascinated with that, and it's all psychological. Right, so I watch a lot of documentaries. I follow a lot of people that do a lot of the really long distance stuff, and I've fallen in love with trail running specifically. So that's actually my forte. Like I prefer the trails more. And then I said, yeah, what is it that I have to do to get into that? And then, the 50K came about. So when I was on that, I was having the time of my life. But after 35K was unknown territory for me.
Sure, yeah.
And I just remember, bro, I saw 42 on, because they had like little
signposts,
signs. Yeah, signposts. And I got to 40 and I was like, damn, all right. So I've just run a marathon. But I've got another 8K to go.
I know.
Yeah, and I'm like, that 8K, bro, when I tell you, when I got to 45, I was thinking I say to people, if you've ever got any unanswered questions in your life, go out and do something like that. I guarantee you at the end you'll have the answers for it.
Yeah, but I'd worry about those who still end up with questions, right? Like,
Yeah, but they need. I don't know. They got their process wrong.
keep going.
Yeah, keep going, bro. Like run to, I don't know, Scotland or something. But what I'm saying is I got to 45 and I was like, I am cooked.
Hmm.
Like I'm cooked, but I was just in a good way. Like I was in pain, you know, my both of my legs kind of like they got kind of really heavy, like really numb. I think I had cramp in my right leg, but I loved every moment of it. And that's when I realized that, okay, these ultra guys, this is it.
Hmm.
This is it. It's the pain. It's the pain that equals the pleasure. And then I just kept going, and I got to 48. And then this energy, which I don't know where came from, just came out. And then I just kind of stepped up the pace. And then I got to 49 something. I saw the finish line. I was like, all right.
That's it. Let's go.
Yeah. And then I think I even made the decision before I crossed the 50 that I'm going to go and do 100 sometime soon. So do an ultra, man, if you've never done it. Like, yeah, it's different. It's different. I think you see every part of a person. Like I was sweating, snotting, everything was going on there. You know, it's probably not the most pleasant thing to see, but it's incredible experience.
Hey, if it's positive at the end of the day and it makes you feel good about yourself and having gone for it, and why not? That's all that matters.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, for the listeners, I formally apologize for these details in advance. But one of my toes is still black till the toenail's black, bro. Like it was funny. I saw a meme the other day that someone was holding a sign at an ultra saying, what was it? Something like "black toenails are beautiful," something like that. Basically saying that people that have injured feet from ultras, you know, it's a cute thing. But it's yeah, it's different. It's different to your road running. It's not about time. It's not about pace. It's not about wearing the coolest carbons and the shiniest, you know, socks or whatever. It's about endurance. And for me, psychologically, endurance is a form of processing. I always talk about endurance and processing being deeply connected.
Mm.
And it's about endurance. It's about starting something and getting to the end no matter what happens.
How do you go about your training? Like, do you stick to your plan?
Depends what I'm training for. So I'm a big advocate for run. So if I'm using or needing a plan for a specific race, then I would use run, or just also my experience as well. Like I think when you build up that experience, you kind of can somewhat build a unofficial plan in your head in a way. But if I'm so my next race is gonna be the big half.
Okay. I'll see you there.
Half. Yeah, get a little snap together and
Let's do that.
That'll be nice. So the big half, am I training for? I mean, the endurance is already there for that, to be honest. But I'm running every week, even if I'm not actively training for something.
Yeah,
like
sure.
Before this call, I was on a run.
Yeah,
so.
no, I mean, to be honest, it takes me back to last week, actually. Kind of joined a few runners from the community where I'm based, just in Berkshire. And someone asked me, like, what are you training for? And I said, you know what, I'm really not training for anything. And
no, it's a lifestyle.
They were so shocked by it. They were just like, what? You're not training for anything? I'm like, well, I've got a 10K coming up on the weekend. I mean, once you have a few of these things lined up, you are basically training anyway, right?
Of course.
But for me, like, so I've mentioned this time and time again, it's more about consistency for me. And the reason I started in the very beginning was because I just wasn't able to keep my routine consistent, which was helping my health. You know, I didn't have that. That was the element that was missing. Like I've got that now, which is great. And it's just about maintaining that now, right? So first it was non-existent, now it exists, and now it's just about maintaining that and make sure that's regularly there. So yeah, no, you're right. I mean, sometimes a half marathon is coming up and you feel like you've kind of done the mileage and stretched your body out, so you should be okay, providing you keep these regular activities and runs going from time to time. When I say you're training, obviously you fit in some strength training and stretching into that too, right?
Yeah, I do. I do a lot of kettlebells. So I do functional training with kettlebells, and I do a lot of mobility. So a lot of functional mobility stretching. It's a big part of my life, actually.
You've mentioned endurance quite a bit. Obviously, would you agree that that strength training and the stretching goes a long way to help that and support that?
Absolutely imperative. Absolutely imperative. If you are doing any form of long distance running and you're not strength training, you are so prone to injury. If only you knew, right? And I think even if you're doing 1 day a week, 2 days a week of strength training, and it could be, just minimal stuff. It doesn't have to be anything. Like, I don't go to a physical gym. Like, I train, I self-train. I've got, equipment, and, sure, I've been to gyms, and sometimes I might do like a 1 or 3 day pass or something just to change up my environment. But I don't actively go to a gym because I just find that I train better, in my own space. But even if you just got yourself like a pair of dumbbells and you just did some like squats or anything, single legged, especially when you're running this single leg sport, right? So you want to support that motion, that mobility. But if you're not doing any of that, you're going to be so prone to injury. And you see it time and time again. I experienced it because when I was in marathon block training last year, it was so relentless. Like, it took up so much of my time that I would just find myself skipping strength training sessions, and then I got injured. And I believe I got injured. Yeah, the mileage picked up really quickly, but also I think if I strength trained at the time, like I usually do, I think I would have maybe minimalized that injury. So I think it's imperative, and mobility equally. So some form of stretching is so important. Like, it's ridiculous how important it is.
Do you stick to your plan? Like you mentioned, like you use you run over there to assist with getting that structure in place. But suppose you have to like run a 12K and you just feel like, oh God, it's crazy high temperature. I don't think I can move anything beyond 9 or 10. What goes through your mind at that point?
So the plan is your papered structure, but my body is what I listen to as the last call, right? So I listen to my body very closely. I'm very in tuned and connected and aligned with my body. So however it feels, I listen to it. But I also listen out for that false, um, you know, when your body kind of lies to you and it's like, oh, you can't go anymore, when actually you can, right? And you experience that on the ultra. Quit now. You're not going to be able to do it. And then you end up doing it. So sure, I stick to the plan, but I'm also not, I don't beat myself up if I, cut it short. So for example, today I was supposed to do a 10K and I did 9.5, right? Because I was just like, oh, I'm done. Like, I done the route and I got to like near the end of it and I was just like, yeah, I'm done. Like, I've done enough. Yeah, sure, the plan's there as a structure, but I also listen to my body, and I think you need that balance.
Going back towards mental health, tell us about your project.
We Are Not Weapons is a project which is dear to me. The meaning of it is, when I was going through what I was going through, I just remember having some thoughts where I just felt like, because a lot of my stuff, dates back to childhood, and I just feel like, sometimes we are dragged into wars that we don't agree to. emotional wars and physical wars that we don't agree to, and conditionings we don't agree to. And whether that's, childhood trauma, family trauma, or whatever, we're just dragged in and we're just expected to fight it out. And that just feels like you're being weaponized in an environment which you don't want to be in. You don't want to be weaponized. You're not a threat to society, And that's where it came up with the thought is, I'm not a weapon. I'm not a weapon to be used in other people's war. And that's where We Are Not Weapons came from. So what it means is that individuals to not be used in other people's psychological war. But most certainly, we are not to be used as weapons against our own selves. And there's a reference there to obviously suicide. And what the project basically is a lot of advocacy work and the tearing down of stigma and cover up to difficult subjects. So you might see a lot of my content discussing really difficult things, and that's the whole point. The whole point is that in order to prevent something, you need to normalize it first. And in order to normalize it, you need to talk about it freely without consequence. We do a lot of video content, workshops through it, and I've got a lot of stuff coming out in the near future. And it's just a safe space for people to have that psychoeducation, but also to relate to someone who is very much like them, just an average human being.
Like you hold these sessions here?
Yeah, so I've done some public workshops. Obviously, my formal work, my day work involves counselling as well, and I work with various charities and stuff with suicide prevention and the likes. But We Are Not Weapons is more it's an embodiment of all of those things. So it's just, general psychoeducation. And we've done workshops through it as well, and a lot of video content and stuff. So yeah, I do from time to time hold workshops, public workshops.
No, good to know. So to be honest, that's one thing that we'll make sure that we share out further.
I appreciate that. Yeah, and come along to yourself, and there's no expectation, like at these workshops and stuff. There's no expectation for people to share or to speak. You can merely just come and listen. It's just a safe space for people to let down that performance for once, because we're always carrying a performance, right? And it's just a way for people to just let that go for a while.
Good stuff. Yeah. All the best with that.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Saad, what makes you go again?
What makes me go again? With running or just life in general?
I mean, you're probably saying, well, haven't I shared enough today? You should be able to kind of sum that up yourself, mate. Why are you asking me such pointless questions?
What makes me go again? It's a good question. So as this is Running 101, let's talk about running. So I use running or endurance training as a form of processing. And if you look at processing, what does that mean? It's a cycle, right? It's something that processes through something, and it doesn't, there might be an end to it, there might not be an end to it. So because of that processing, it becomes something that I rely on a lot, right? It's a big part of my life. So whenever I feel like I'm going through something, or I'm thinking about something, or I'm trying to figure something out, my new way of dealing with that is endurance. And it's just become so embodied in me that I just, by default now, and just by second nature, I just move. So the work that I do is very heavy. And there comes times where I need to, I wouldn't say de-stress, but more like process the stuff that I hear and see. And with my own experience as well that I've gone through. So I need something to process, and I need something that is going to allow me to do that in my own environment underneath my own terms.
Would you say process to understand, or process to deal with, or
I
process
would
to
say
just
in general,
put that to one side?
it could be any of those three things. So if I'm trying to figure something out, I'll go out for a run, or I'll go out for a long walk, a hike, or whatever, some form of endurance. If I'm trying to process something that I already understand, the same outlet, right? So for me, is because processing and life is never going to stop throwing things at you. Life is relentless, right? It's not going to stop. So our coping mechanisms and our tools and our weaponry needs to also not stop. But I've just chosen a healthy one. Whereas a lot of people, unfortunately, and a lot of men will choose unhealthy ones, whether that's substance abuse or, whatever, various forms of addictions. So that's what keeps me going.
Good to know, and thanks for sharing that with us. Someone starting today, where should they start?
That's a good question. Figure out what your why is and why you've chosen running to answer that why. There's many forms of endurance sports out there, and there's many forms of, there's many ways you can stay healthy, if you will. So figure out what that why is, and if it is just because it's trendy and it looks cool, then fine. All power to you. Crack on, right? But if it's something deeper than that, then figure out what that why is and ask yourself, will running solve that? To think about it consciously, sit down and really process that. That's the emotional side. The physical side, I would say, go at your level and your pace, not somebody else's. Don't live somebody else's journey, live your journey. And I think blocking out the noise is imperative, like it's important, because there's so much that we can just take in and digest nowadays. And that's not your journey, that's not your story. Your story is unique to you. So go at your own pace, your own journey. However long that takes, let it take as long as it needs to take. But also, equally challenge yourself. For your listeners, you have more potential than you can imagine. Someone that said to me at work the other day, I could never do that. I'm not built like that. Like, how do you leave work and then go and run? Like, what is this? And I'm like, trust me, I bet you could. I bet you could, right? Because if you understood where I come from,
Yeah.
you're already in a better position than my old self, right? But we tell ourselves unhelpful things, right? Because we look at people's current chapter and we compare that to our current chapter, not knowing that they've gone through volumes of chapters before they've got there. So if you're just starting out, start at your introduction, not somebody else's current state. And I think build from there and take it easy, and know you don't have to have all the cool equipment. You don't have to spend tons of money, right? One pair of shoes is enough for the time being. Like, you don't need to go out and splash and, but treat yourself also. And when you achieve stuff, treat yourself and reward yourself. That's important for your mental side. And get around the community, and it doesn't have to be big either. One or two like-minded individuals that are going to support you on your journey is going to do remarkable things for you. Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, thank you so much. Honestly, well said. You've shared quite a bit with us today. Shared where you started, which wasn't too long ago. I'd like to throw that in there. Like what, just over 2 years ago, right? So been through quite a bit. But looking at you now today, following you from time to time, listening to your experience so far, a few things that you've thrown yourself into, and your mindset, where it is quite positive today. wishing you all the best, Saad. Honestly,
Thank
hoping
you
all
so
the
much,
best,
bro. I
and
appreciate that, man.
stick to
Thank
it.
you.
Really do like the way you're kind of giving a positive outlet into it and just making it quite clear that anyone can make their way back from regardless of what the thought process they're going through right now.
100%.
Do correct me if I'm wrong. You know this far better than I do.
100%. So running cured my addiction for certainty, or the seeking of certainty. And what do I mean by that is that I used to always want guarantees in life, right? So I need to be certain about something, or I need to make sure that this current situation gives me certainty. And I used to yearn that a lot, but that caused me a lot of distress because I found that I'm always constantly thinking about what if, right? So running taught me that there aren't any certainties. That some days you'll run, some days you'll walk, some days you might even fly, some days you'll hop, some days you'll hike. There's no certainty. The only guarantee is that putting one foot in front of the other eventually gets you to somewhere.
It makes sense. Honestly, it does narrow it down to what we do on a regular basis. Again, we kind of forget about that, don't we? We just start thinking about distance. We start thinking about pace. We don't worry about what we're actually doing, how that outlet is actually helping us, regardless of where we are and what state of mind we're in, right? We just forget about these little benefits, these little blessings that we have. We take them all for granted, so to speak, right?
I wanna change the norm, yeah. You know, when like people, oh, you just ran this race. What was your time? What was your pace? I want to change that norm. I want to say, how do you feel mentally? Let's change that. Let's not worry about pace and time all the time. Yeah, let's start asking people what it has done for them mentally and how do they feel emotionally.
Good point. Good way to finish it off. Saad, thank you so much for putting some time aside once again. Honestly, it was an absolute pleasure.
Bro, I appreciate it, man. Thank you. And continue doing what you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much. Honestly, nothing in comparison to what you're doing, but we'd be...
Hey, no, you know I don't accept that. Don't minimalize your world, bro.
Okay, lesson learned.
You don't know what lives you might be impacting.
Sure.
And yeah, as you said, someone ran their first 5K in your community the other day, and you do not know what that might have done for them, right? So never do that. Never minimalize your world.
Appreciate those kind words. No, thank you so much. Look after yourself.
Likewise,
and let's definitely make the big half happen, man.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for tuning in, and hopefully you got a good insight into Saad's journey so far. Look after yourself, and hopefully we'll touch base on another episode of Running 101 very soon. Take care.